On today's show, LeBron James announces that he's returning for another season. Are the Lakers among the top contenders in the West? Plus, who are the most mid teams in the NBA? And then we wrap up with our NBA offseason Emmy Awards. All of that and more coming up on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. I'm Wes Goldberg, here as always with Adam Matas. However you might be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or on your favorite podcast app, thanks so much for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We're going to get to the most mid-teams in the NBA, or NBA offseason Emmy Awards, later on in the show. But let's start with LeBron James announcing at the ESPYs that he is not retiring. Adam, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you?
0, of course. And I'm also not surprised in the delivery of this, right? Like, LeBron is pretty corny in his old age. He's like growing cornier, which I can relate to. I've grown cornier in my old age. But the way he revealed it with that, I don't know, joke or whatever, unbelievable.
Yeah. Not surprised at all. It was just, he gets accused a lot of trying to steal the spotlight. And I think there's certainly some truth to that. It was strained. Did he really think that we were wondering? Like, nobody was on the edge of their seat waiting. Everybody thought he was coming back. The Lakers were acting as if they thought he was coming back. He was posting on social media being like, yeah, about like loving the Lakers free agent moves, insinuating that he was going to return. This was not a mystery at all. And I even think back to when he said it after Game 4, losing to the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, saying he's really got to think about his NBA future. And just everybody even back then rolled their eyes at it. And there was a lot of questions as to why he would do that, why he would talk about potentially retiring. Again, got accused of stealing the spotlight from Nuggets. People thought that maybe that's what his intent was. My read on that all along, Adam, is, and we've talked about this offline, but this is just, to me, every time I see LeBron do something like this, I think about the fact that he is recording a documentary, that he is producing a documentary about this stage of his career. And I just think about everything in scenes almost. I mean, you know me, Adam, I'm a storyteller. This is how.
Oh, such a storyteller, Wes. Yeah.
And I just think that, like, what we're going to see is him just like grinding, playing 48 minutes in Game 4 against the Nuggets of the Western Conference Finals, and then saying afterwards, man, I really got to think about my NBA future. It's going to be like this noir setting, a dun-dun kind of sound effects and all these things, and it's just gonna be really dramatic. And then we're gonna spin it forward, and we're gonna see him decked out in this suit, announcing that he's coming back, to grand applause that's sort of just piped in crowd noise that didn't actually exist at the Emmys, and then him just going crazy, dunking in his 21st season. And I think that's I think all of this was for the film. In other words, Adam, I think I hear all the other theories, but I think it was because of the film, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
It'll hit better on the film. Like all of those things, like you were joking about after Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, none of the it was so overly dramatic, right, in real life. But yeah, you had a little bit of music and some lighting and stuff, and it's part of this overarching arc. I could totally see it. You might be right. I will say, when I watched the clip for the first time, because I didn't watch it live, but when I watched the clip kind of make the rounds, I remember thinking to myself, like, wait, did people think he was retiring? Like, what are we doing here? So I'm with you. It's like we haven't seen the early scenes. We're only seeing this one, and we're trying to make sense of it. But I will say, this is the summer of the Lakers. Really, it's the week of the Lakers, as we saw Darvin Ham earlier too reveal that the Lakers are using Michael Malone's excitement over winning a championship to fuel his, that's going to fuel us this year. We're ready to. It's not going to be the same, and we'll get them back. I want to say, as somebody in Denver, you can't. You can't. Denver never had a title. Now they do. Right. Next year, it doesn't matter. The title's already been won. The sweep's already been made. So I don't know. The Lakers are doing the thing. The Lakers really, for the last couple years, have had all of the shine of the Lakers history, all the shine of all of those things. But it's like hollow underneath. And this one feels to me, the LeBron reveal that he's coming back, and Darvin Ham, the motivation, all this stuff, just to me feels like, is this still relevant?
Right. Darvin Ham, the quote is, "This ain't over." Talking about how
it's over.
The season is literally over.
The title was won, and Denver never had one. Now they do. Like
this is them trying to open the door back up and trying to. I don't know what it is. Look, whatever. Credit to you, Darvin Ham. Whatever you got to do to get your team motivated for next season, I guess that's your job. But it is a little silly. I do want to talk about the Lakers, though, and just the Western Conference overall, because I've actually really liked the Lakers offseason. I'm not alone in that. They're pretty much universally, approved about their offseason. They bring back D'Angelo Russell. They add Gabe Vincent. They bring back Austin Reeves on a very team-friendly deal. They have Jared Vanderbilt still. They bring in Taurean Prince, and then they've got some flyers out there, a Jackson Hayes, a Cam Reddish. They draft Jalen Hood-Schifino, who looked great in Summer League. He's like one of my favorite guys from Summer League. Maybe they get something out of Max Christie coming into next year in his second year. Like, there's some wild cards there, but I look at their top 8. It's pretty solid. There's still and there's room for them to make moves before the trade deadline if they really want to. We'll see how the D'Angelo Russell thing really works out and all that kind of thing. But I think they're good. I thought they were good after they made the Russell Westbrook trade last year. I think they're a legit contender with LeBron James and Anthony Davis at the top, as long as they could stay healthy, which is always the asterisk with them. I still have the Nuggets as the overwhelming favorites. But if we're trying to put a group of contenders together, I think the Lakers are firmly in that, obviously with the Phoenix Suns. Are there any other teams that I'm missing in there? Or would you disagree with any of those teams I already had in there?
I'm going to disagree with the Lakers. I mean, the part here, you talk about a top 8, and D'Angelo Russell was the first guy you mentioned when you were going to the bench there. D'Angelo Russell was one of the reasons the Lakers got swept in the playoffs last year. And the team was too afraid, and everybody knew it, and the team was too afraid to bench him. He continued to start and continued to play. To me, when you re-up a guy, I'm with you. I think it's more of a long-term play to trade him at the deadline. But either way, you re-up a guy, and then that's supposed to be one of the strengths for your roster coming back. Like, it's very rare. The framing around the Lakers is always this way, where for some reason we're missing the plot. Michael Malone in the playoffs last year felt so good about D'Angelo Russell being on the court that he brought it up in game 1 of this press conference, saying, hey, that's a guy that's really been positive for them in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to play him. Of all the cocky things Michael Malone said, daring the other coach to play D'Angelo Russell in a playoff and then him playing and starting the rest of the series, that was the wildest one that somehow flew under the radar. But now that D'Angelo's re-signed, it's as if this is like a great move for the Lakers. I don't think it is. I don't think that he is like a guy that's going to win you for you in the playoffs further than where they got. So
like I said, I don't think he'll be on the team by the playoffs. And if he is, they did show willingness to bench him at the end of those games. And now they have Gabe Vincent, who is he's a guy with finals experience, deep playoff experience. You can always move him. And the thing is, with LeBron, you can always just play him at point and play some other more versatile lineups. And you don't even really need sort of a quote unquote point guard on the floor. But I'm surprised that you wouldn't even have them in your group of contenders. I'm not telling you that I have them favored over Denver, but they were in the Western Conference Finals last year.
I mean, they were, and they, to me, kind of had things fall very perfectly for them in terms of health. And I'm not trying to troll about. In 2019, LeBron plays 55 games, then 67, the bubble year that got interrupted. 45 after that, 56, 54. It's pretty safe to say that around 50 games, 45 to 55 games is what we should expect from LeBron at this stage of his career. So when we're talking about teams to be good, you just have to factor in, I think, that LeBron is likely going to miss 30 games this season. And I think with Anthony Davis, that has been his MO as well. And so I look at that and I go, I don't think that roster survives better without him this year than they did last year. So to me, they have to break right again the way they did last year, and everybody gets healthy right at the playoffs, and
no doubt,
hopefully you get some momentum.
No doubt. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns have to be in there. We'll see how that turns out. But when you have that much star power, you kind of have to throw them into the group of contenders. I really, like, every other day, Adam, I wake up, I'm like, you know what? I feel good about the Phoenix Suns today. And then I'll wake up tomorrow and be like, I don't see how they get this done. This roster makes no sense. It's just a bunch of star names. We'll see what ends up happening. I still think I lean towards, like, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are just really freaking good. And if they have to make a move, they can always make a move, whether it's trading DeAndre Ayton or something like that. Who knows? I'm kind of similar on the Warriors in terms of trying to throw them in my group of contenders. There's been some buzz about them maybe starting Chris Paul after his weird press conference in Las Vegas. Would it be like it's a Chris Paul, Steph, Clay, Wiggins, and Draymond? Would that be the starting five? That's interesting. I don't know. Whatever that is that they end up doing, I'm more bullish on the Chris Paul fit than I think a lot of people are. I just think that, hey, he's smart. The Warriors are smart. Basketball IQ, double down. on all that stuff. Let's go. I think it would work.
I think the team, Wes, that is getting underrated by all of this is Memphis.
I was just about to bring them up. That's my dark horse.
And I understand why people kind of move past them. I mean, some of the sideshow parts of their season last year will really discourage people. But I mean, adding Marcus Smart, he's a really good player.
Yeah.
I think we also forget that when a team gets hurt, the way they did with Steven Adams, Brandon Clark last year, we almost act like those guys won't matter. Like, oh yeah, but they're missing those guys. But it's like, no. But those guys are integral to who they are and what they do, and not having them last year maybe painted a wrong picture of what their potential is. So I'm with John's situation. Who knows? He had a very up and down last year and a half or so with some of the distractions. But if we put that to the side, admittedly a hard thing to do, you look at this roster and you go, no, there's still a complete roster that's really good and going to be a very good regular season team. So I don't know. Memphis, I think, is going to be good.
They roll out of bed and win 50 games every season now, right? With this new version of the Memphis Grizzlies. And it's sort of similar to the Lakers. This John Morant thing, he's going to be suspended 25 games. I also think that's why people are overlooking him, because he's suspended for the first quarter of the season. But when he comes back, if he is right mentally for the playoffs, that's a team that you have to look out for. And like you said, if they've got their guys healthy, that's a team that I think could compete with anybody in the Western Conference for the most part. I really like the Grizzlies. I'm with you. I had them down as my dark horse, and I think they are being overlooked quite a bit because all they do is win games. And they're going to be a high seed. Marcus Smart there while John Morant is out. I like Smart and his personality fit there. I also really like the new hire, Anthony Carter from the Miami Heat's bench, who is in charge of their player development thing, but even more so, that's a dude that is going to bring a little bit of that professionalism, that quote unquote Heat culture to Memphis. And it just feels like they need just professional, experienced, smart voices in that locker room that can guide some of these guys. And then getting Dillon Brooks out of there, it feels like that people in Memphis felt like that was a needed kind of personality shift in that locker room. I can't really speak to it, but if you can get maybe a more mature group, and John Morant hopefully can get over these issues that he's dealing with, there is no reason not to think that the Grizzlies are legit contenders in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
So we agree on that. All right, coming up, who are the most mid teams in the NBA? So getting away from the contender conversation, who could be the next team to blow it up? We'll talk about that next. First, a message from our partners. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs, and the pitch here is simple. Birddogs make you look good. Birddogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Instead, Birddogs fixes the issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. I've got half a dozen pair of these things. They feel like butter. They keep me cool in the 98-degree Miami heat, Adam. I mean, it's insane here. I've got, like I said, half a dozen pair that are on rotation right now. They're perfect for me right now. They use an anti-stink, sweat-wicking fabric that keeps me cool and dry all day long. Like I said, I love my Birddogs. I'm wearing them all through the summer. You can get them too. Just go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA and enter the promo code LockedOnNBA, and you're going to get a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You're not going to want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Now that the offseason is mostly settled, obviously the exception of where Damian Lillard and James Harden are going to be playing, maybe Pascal Siakam out there, but for the most part, we kind of get it. I thought we could take a look at the teams in the middle with our most mid teams in the NBA. Adam, what do you think?
Well, mid meaning they're going to be kind of mediocre, or mid as in they're about to break it up because they were hoping to be better than mediocre. Those are two different things. Oklahoma City, I think, might be mid, but that's an ascending mid.
They're mid, but you're right. They're an ascending mid. I think as the kids would use the word mid today, it's just, you're just mid. You're underwhelming. You're mid. I think the Thunder could be hovering around 500, but everybody's going to be excited about them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about them.
Yeah, so I think we could start with Chicago, just sort of the definition of mid, the most mid team over the last decade. Some news on the Chicago Bulls front. They were just granted the $10.2 million disabled player exception. They can use that either to sign a free agent, as just a regular exception would be used, or in a trade, right? Like a traded player exception. They could use it in that way too. So pretty valuable. They applied for it at the beginning of July. So I would guess they intend to use it if they applied for it. I don't know if that's something quickly that's going to happen. I can't really see a free agent on the market that makes a whole lot of sense for $10 million. Maybe it's something that they can use again, but before the trade deadline to go get a player that makes some sense for them.
By the way, that injury would derail any team. I mean,
yes, of course.
Lonzo Ball is a good player. And that roster, while I don't know that they were winning titles with him, if you just put him in there, there's certainly a different arc to them. And so losing him, we kind of almost just gloss over it, but it's a big deal. He's a good player.
He is. They're still mid. I don't really know what it is that they're doing. I really have no. They brought back Nikola Vucevic, which in a vacuum, I don't know that was the wrong move. It was really the only move on the table for them. They had to bring him back because if they lost him, they didn't really have a way of replacing him. So you bring him back on a decent deal. I didn't think they overpaid for him. It kind of got panned at the time. I thought it was a fine contract. But you still have Zach LaVine making a bunch of money. You got DeMar DeRozan in the final year of his contract. I really don't know what the plan is. Hoping for a leap for Kobe White, who looked better at the end of last season. Maybe hoping for a leap that seems to come sometimes and then doesn't with Patrick Williams. I just don't know what really the plan is there for Chicago.
The plan is to stay the course. Don't blow it up and risk losing the fan base, I think. I mean, you're right. This is the definite. I think of all the teams we could do, this was the easiest one. They are the most mid team in the entire NBA. So I think it was a good pick.
All right. Who's yours? Who do you got?
I would go with Toronto.
Yeah, they're on my
and
list.
they more feel like a team that's just in limbo for whatever reason. They have good players. Like they have the ability to not be so mid, and they could actually surprise some people. It just doesn't feel like they're moving in that direction. It feels a little bit more like running back something that's already ended. Like they missed their exit. So I don't know. They could be good. I mean, OG Anunoby is obviously a fantastic player. Pascal Siakam, a fantastic player. Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. That's the makings of a top defense in the NBA. Those four guys right there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sometimes a team expires and you kind of have to read it. It felt like they expired.
No shot creation really to speak of on that roster. I suppose you're kind of hoping for a big leap, third-year leap from Scotty Barnes, but he doesn't really even project forward as somebody who's, a Jason Tatum type of guy who's just going to go up and get his own shots or something like that. Having Fred VanVleet leave and not replace him with a point guard, I know they brought back Dennis Schroeder, or they brought in Dennis Schroeder, but it kind of clears the way for Scotty Barnes to be that jumbo-sized point guard now, and I would assume he's going to take those responsibilities. But OG Anunoby is a catch-and-shoot guy at best on offense. Pascal Siakam can create his own shot, but he's in trade rumors right now. He might not be there, right? He wants a contract extension, and if they don't want to give it to him, maybe he's traded to Indiana, Orlando, Atlanta. Like these are the teams that have sort of been mentioned for him. So we don't even know if he's going to be on the team to start the season. I'm with you. I think it's fine. I think they'll probably make the play-in tournament or something like that in the East.
That's called mid.
They're mid. But they're mid, man. They're mid. They're not bad. They're mid. Can I throw another one at you?
All right, let's hear it.
This might surprise some people. I've got the Clippers here.
Oh, wow.
I've got the LA Clippers.
Is this with James Harden or without him?
Throw him on there. I don't care.
Throw him on.
Throw him on there. Yeah, just add him. Take away Robert Covington and a Norman Powell and throw him on there. This is the most dramatic mid team I think we've ever seen in the NBA, because when they have their dudes, they look awesome, including in the last playoffs. When Kawhi was there, they looked great. And then what happened? The same thing that always happens. Kawhi got hurt, and then they didn't look great anymore. They looked mid. If Kawhi and Paul George are just going to play 50 games, and even let's throw James Harden on there. He's like a 60 game per season player. Okay, cool. Okay. Unless you're perfectly staggering those two of those three during their injuries, which doesn't happen. I just don't see a way that this team is they look great when those guys are on the court. They hover around 500 or slightly below there when those guys aren't available. And that's basically been the story for the Clippers over the last 3 years. It's a dramatic way to be mid, but it's mid nonetheless, Adam. And I just don't see a way. I'm not a believer on this team's ceiling. Everybody's, if they're healthy, they're a contender. And it's like, okay, well, I have no reason to think they'll ever be healthy with this group. It just doesn't make sense to me. So they're mid.
It's part of my Lakers take as well. So I guess you have to throw it to them. I mean, look, in this era, they have one Western Conference Finals run. That that's the pinnacle so far. So calling them mid, I don't think is too harsh. I will say they are going to be perpetually that team that should be better than what they are. So, I mean, they have the guys, but to your point, at what point do you just no longer start counting on it?
Any other mid teams on your list before we move on?
I don't know if I have any more because I'm looking at all these and some of them feel like they're moving in the upward direction or like starting to blow it all up. Because you look at a team like Portland as mid, but they're in the process of becoming bad. I don't know that I would call Brooklyn mid because I think they're ascending. I think Dallas might be like one of these teams that Dallas, Minnesota, New Orleans, one of that trio is going to end up being mid, but I wouldn't predict any one of them. I kind of like all of them.
The one I sort of flirted with was the Knicks. I don't know that I'm ready to call them mid, but when you're talking about like ascending, like with Dallas, you have Luka. He's one of the best 5 or 6 guys in the NBA. So it's hard to.
They still missed the playoffs last year. Are you buying Dallas?
I almost had him as my dark horse.
Okay. I feel like that's where a lot of people are.
I like the Grant Williams addition for them. I just don't really like the rest of the roster. It just seems like lacking. And then the Kyrie Irving thing, I have just no idea what to expect from him. But there's a version where, because defensively, if they just give a little bit more effort closing out on 3-pointers, like that's really it. Like if they just do that, I think they could be a lot closer to I think they could be a lot closer to where they were 2 years ago, which was a top 10 defense, versus where they were last year, which was a big weakness of theirs. So if they give a little bit more effort defensively, and then with Luka and Kyrie, like your offense is taken care of. There's a world where I could see them sort of entering that like kind of second crust of the Western Conference. I don't know that I would bet on it, but there's a world where I could see it, where like these mid teams like Toronto, Chicago, the Clippers, I just don't see it. I just don't see a way where they get to that level. I just don't see a realistic version of that. And that's kind of where I ended up on the Knicks. You know, it's like, okay, you got some nice things, and it was a good story last year. They were on the rise last year, but now they feel like firmly 47 wins. Like, I don't know that they're going to get more than that. And I don't know that they're going to get a whole lot less than that either. Like, they're going to be a few wins over 500, but like, I think we know what RJ Barrett is. We know what Jalen Brunson is. He's awesome, but we know what he is. RJ Barrett is mid.
Yeah. He is.
He is. Like, the team is sort of, it's one of those teams that's sort of waiting to make a pounce for the next. Like, they've been rumored Joel Embiid. If Giannis were to leave Milwaukee, like, I get it.
Karl Anthony Towns, maybe
for Cat. Yeah, I mean the Knicks are flirting with mid, but I'm not ready to put them in there quite yet.
All right,
not like those teams.
Oh, they're in the mid spot for me.
All right, so I'll throw them in there. Why not? It's the Knicks. Who cares?
I love Quentin Grimes though.
Big Quentin Grimes guy. Coming up, we hand out our NBA offseason Emmys here on Locked On NBA. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 that you could spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to get their first home run, all on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet Major League Baseball than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. It's Friday, which means we are counting down to the weekend. Emmy nominations were announced this week, Adam. Looks like Succession is nominated for everything. The Bears getting a bunch of nominations. Before we move on to our top 5 NBA offseason Emmys, before we start giving those awards out, are you a TV guy? Are you an Emmys buff? Anybody rooting for you?
I was really bad this year. As you know, the Nuggets made the finals. Very, very distracted with that.
Aware.
Didn't get to a ton of TV this year. I hear the Bears great.
The Bear was very good. That was a post-finals binge for me and the wife there. So I hope they win a bunch of stuff. And Succession is great. One of my favorite shows. So that's not what you're here for, though. Let's do our countdown. 5 off-season Emmys. So, basic stuff here, Adam. The Emmys, as you know, has categories. Best lead actor, outstanding drama series, outstanding comedy series, etc., things like that. I thought we could do a version of that for the NBA offseason and all the narratives running around in the offseason. So I've got lead actor. So we're gonna award a winner for best actor, best supporting actor. We've got a guest star, drama series and comedy series. All right. So we're going to start with lead actor. And this one goes to Joe Cronin, the general manager of the Portland Trailblazers, who is doing a phenomenal job acting. This is Jeremy Strong level acting by Joe Cronin being like, oh yeah, no, this could take months. No, we can hold. No, we're not in a rush. No, we've got plenty of suitors. People are lining up for Damian Lillard, all this stuff. He's doing what he has to do. I understand it.
He's not fooling you though.
He ain't fooling me. That's right. I see behind the curtain, Adam. But for right now, he is the best actor of the offseason because he is buttering it up right now.
I mean, LeBron, we talked earlier, had a great acting performance at the ESPYs, so I think he's snubbed in this category here. No, you're right about the Dame situation. I will say, though, and we don't know about Cronin, but there have been GMs who have had the iron stomach to be able to handle the drawn-out trade request. So I don't know. I mean, there is always a chance you get into the season and just say, hey, man, it didn't come through to our standards, and we'll sit Dame until December if that's what it takes.
I would be shocked if that happened.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
I mean, that would be. We don't have to do the whole Damian Lillard thing. Let's move on. Best supporting actor. We're gonna stay on the Damian Lillard front here. I've got his agent, Aaron Goodwin. I just feel like he's playing a great supporting role.
Previous category. I can't believe it. We're getting a sweep here. The Dame saga.
Dame saga's getting a sweep. They're gonna win best limited series because I don't think it's gonna go on that long. But the Aaron Goodwin behind the scenes, Damian Lillard's agent. He's being very supportive, and that was my rationale for giving that. That was it.
I guess it makes sense to me. This works. Although I might say that he seems to me to be the lead actor in the saga. The story's coming out. He's the one pushing every story here.
That's true. I mean, but that's the mark of a great supporting actor. True. You know, it's like maybe could we even nominate him for lead actor? You know, he's really starring in his role. All right, I got guest star here. This is one of my favorite ones. Guest star, Emmy winner, one Patty Mills. He has been a guest star. He's been a guest on 4 teams in 10 days, Adam, this offseason. He has been traded he played for Brooklyn at the end of the year, got traded to Houston, then got traded to the Thunder, and now he's currently playing for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know that he's checked into Georgia because he might expect to get traded again. Who knows? Patty Mills, 4 teams in 10 days, just moving around for second-round picks and cash considerations. He's our guest star of the NBA offseason.
Patty Mills, man. Every year there is one of these guys, right?
Yeah.
That just becomes thrown in like 5 different trades.
Wasn't it like Luke Ridnour a few years ago, or like something like maybe something like that?
The best one was Choo Choo Matabaum. I think there was a summer where his rights got traded like 6 times in one summer.
Wild.
All right, Patty Mills, congratulations.
All right, drama series. Damian Lillard and that whole thing is probably going to win this, but I do have 2 other nominations for you.
Okay.
Actually, that's not true. We have a surprise here. We have a surprise winner. So the other 2 nominations were Damian Lillard and that whole thing, but they're not going to win this. They're just nominated. The Phoenix Suns are nominated. What's going on with Matt Ishbia and Isaiah Thomas and the whole thing there? Chris Paul.
You got to give him credit for somehow being involved in every trade rumor.
Yes.
Like James Harden is rumored to be there.
Yeah.
Impossible, doesn't matter.
But the winner here is the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors get the Emmy here because of maybe one of the greatest twists we've ever seen in NBA offseason history. Chris Paul teaming up with the Warriors at the very end of his career here. I love the twist for dramatic flair. We have no idea how it's going to play out, but you think about how the Warriors got to this point, how Chris Paul in his own career has gotten to this point, and the fact that they have to team up for survival at the very end here. It's dramatic, Adam. You don't seem to be here with me.
No, man, you missed the boat on this one. This is the sitcom that went 1 season too long. I think that's what the Warriors are. We're like, all right. And then they brought in like a guy too famous to join the show this late into the show.
They jumped the shark.
This is The Office in the final season. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? Like half the cast isn't even playing anymore.
It's like, wait, we brought in Will Ferrell. Why?
What's he doing here? It doesn't fit now. That's what this is. By the way, honestly, kind of how I feel about the Warriors. I know that they've been counted out a million times. They keep coming back, but at some point it all does end. And this does feel to me.
Wait,
I'm not joking when I say that it feels weird.
Who's counting out the Warriors?
What's that?
Who's counting out the Warriors? I feel like
I'm saying me.
Oh,
I'm
you're counting out the Warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, you said before, like, everybody's always counting out the Warriors, but now you're actually counting out the Warriors. I
Well,
feel
I'm
like the
just saying
Warriors
when
have
they
not
won
been
2
counted
years
out.
ago, it was a surprise. People weren't picking them to win, and
that's fair.
they came back and did it. So
Came
I'm
off
just
picking
saying
a
like
lot of
that.
good
But
players.
at some point, the wheels do come off, and I kind of just feel like that was last year. That was the last hurrah.
I feel like it's dramatic, but you're not wrong. It does kind of feel like the last season or stuff. But I couldn't nominate them for Outstanding Comedy Series because we've got some nominations.
Okay.
We've got Grady Dick just showing up in that.
Oh, that was terrible.
He's nominated.
I don't like cringe comedy.
I don't. Yeah, that's the British office right there. That's the British office. I've got Karl Anthony Towns and basically all of the podcast. That's nominated.
Another cringe. Man, you really are going to the cringe here.
The winner here is James Harden. James Harden is the winner for Outstanding Comedy Series. This is just like Curb Your Enthusiasm. James Harden just walking around town, pissing everybody off, making enemies left and right. He uses the Rockets as leverage in the middle of the year to try to get the contract he wants from Philly. Doesn't get it from Philly. Calls Houston again, and he's like, by the way, how's that contract? And they're like, dude, we're kind of sick of you. We're actually going to go with this Fred VanVleet guy who seems way nicer and way easier to deal with. So he pisses off Houston. In doing so, pisses off Philadelphia. Then, here's the comedy part, has to actually opt into his contract in order to try to get traded elsewhere. And now everybody's like, I don't really know what I want to, like, do we really want to bring James Harden in? James Harden's walking around like Larry David, just pissing people off, getting himself into trouble. And now we don't really know how he's going to get himself out of this. And it's just an awkward, cringeworthy situation that James Harden is in. He wins the Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series.
Again, I feel like this award is going to the same show 1 year too many. It's like a legacy award. I mean, I've seen this. They just ran back the season. Season 4 was just like season 3,
right?
Different setting. So I don't know why we're handing it out the award. I would have definitely gone, if we had all those cringe humors to go with, I would have definitely gone with Karl Anthony Towns, who I think can't help but hop on podcasts and say things that are like, come on, man, come on.
Change the game, Adam. Change the game.
Change the game. He continues to change it.
You got nominated. If you think.
By the way, my hottest take is I think the Minnesota is one cat trade away from being a contender. I like the roster they have outside of the Twin Towers lineup. And if it were me, I keep thinking that Dame is the perfect landing spot there. I mean, if you're Portland, can you talk yourself into Karl Anthony Towns kind of splitting the difference between, the young timeline with Scoot Henderson, and maybe he'll still be good in a year or two or this or that? And if not, could you reroute him to New York in some kind of trade that netted Portland the Knicks assets? I think that's always a possibility as well. But I look at the Timberwolves roster and I say Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kyle Anderson. That's 6 players I really like that I think can play in the playoffs. Karl Anthony Towns fetches you another player or two, and you have a full rotation.
Pascal Siakam?
Well, can you make that work with Gobert and Siakam? I don't know if that one almost becomes a little too difficult from a spacing standpoint, but he's a good player.
I think that's the sort of player that they would have to add. I hear you on Damian. I feel like Anthony Edwards is about to take that leap, and I just want to clear the way for him completely. Like, if he's going to be that dude. But yeah, I don't know.
You need two, though, and Jaden McDaniels not a ball handler. Kyle Anderson can off of the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker not a ball handler. So to me, there's room enough for Anthony Edwards and Damian Lillard as a scoring duo, and they don't do the same thing, so maybe it works. I don't know.
Cat for Paul George.
I mean,
that extension doesn't come.
That'd be a home run,
right? All right. That's a different countdown. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Everydayers, make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube, Odyssey, and wherever it is that you get your podcasts. The show will be back on Monday with the biggest stories from the NBA weekend. In the meantime, you can find me over on Locked On Heat. Adam is over on Locked On Nuggets. Adam, have a great weekend.
You as well.